Yo, you gotta hand it to Rakugo. Rakugo never disappoints. It never disappoints. And this episode, man, yo, this pulled the heartstrings so hard, man. I mean, I've heard that a couple people have actually gotten teary-eyed by this episode. I personally didn't, but I will say that this episode definitely pulled on the heartstrings. Like, we all knew that Yakumo was going to die. We all knew that. It was inevitable. It was very predictable. I mean, the dude is old. Of course he was going to die in Season 2, you know. And it's funny because, you know, when you're probably seeing this, like, in the beginning of the episode, you're probably thinking, oh, it's mainly a dream. Especially what happened in the last episode of Rakugo, like, right at the end. You know, it looked as though Yakumo was going through a dream, and, you know, halfway through the episode, I did start to think, you know what, he's probably going to wake up, and he's going to be in the hospital with everyone there, but he is going to die, but he's going to give his final moments to each of the characters, you know, basically giving, you know, his dialogue, what he wants them to know about his personal feelings, how they have affected him, especially how Konatsu has affected him, because that would have been awesome to see. But as the episode goes on, you know, you realize that, hey, he's really dead. Even Sukeroku says, you know, he is dead. So it's like this state of limbo that we are in between Yakumo and Sukeroku. Now, in case anybody doesn't know what, you know, limbo is, it's basically in a state in which the person who has died has not passed away. And there is a small chance that the person can come back, you know, alive. Actually, there has been cases into which some people have entered limbo at their final moments, but have actually been revived back. Not like in a zombie, you know, sort of state, but there actually has been, you know, rare instances in which people have woken up from limbo. But regarding this anime, I mean, that's besides the point. When it comes to Yakumo and Sukeroku, they're in a state of limbo in which they have not passed on as of yet. And by the end of this episode, it was just so sad to see, because we see that Yakumo ends up, you know, just moving on away from Sukeroku. Just he alone moves on, while Sukeroku, it seems as though he has still, his soul has not passed on yet. And he even tells Yakumo, you know, hopefully we'll meet again one day. Yo, that was one of the saddest moments of the episode, and they pinky swear. Yo, dude, just seeing, like, this episode was so nostalgic, and I'll get to that in a bit, but, like, the two characters in this series, Sukeroku and Yakumo, are like one of the best. They're the best characters in the whole entire series of Rakugo. Just their interaction with each other, how they are technically brothers, you know? It's so sad to see. And we come to realize that while Yakumo is being passed on, apparently his servant also died. Yo, that was even sad. That added on to the sadness by the end of this episode. I mean, shit. Like, a servant always goes down with his master. That's basically what the ending of this episode was showing. You know, we've seen throughout the series of Rakugo that this guy has always been with Yakumo to, you know, manage everything, take care of him, yada yada yada, and then to finally see him end up dying with his master. So that way, even in the afterlife, he's always with him. Yo, that fucking just adds to the sadness, man. But yeah, this episode, man, it was just so nostalgic, too. It was nostalgic. It was sad, but yet nostalgic. Because we get to see But yeah, this episode, it was sad but yet nostalgic at the same time, because we see Yakumo and Sukeroku interact with each other like how they were before. We actually see several moments in which they were kids, and then when they grew up to adults, you know, and just how they interacted with each other, you know, even from the past. Like, it was so cool seeing them talk to one another. And you also have Miyokichi, which is the wife of Sukeroku, there as well, and even, you know, talks to Yakumo, interacts with him, and says, "Oh my, you have grown old. You know, there is so much that I want to know more about you. How has life been for you, so to speak, in, you know, the present day, before the afterlife?" And I was like, yo, dude, this is deep stuff here. And you also see, you know, like, during the Rakugo segment where we see Sukeroku and also Yakumo, you see Yakumo in the stands, and he's looking down to the two people who, I guess, mainly, you know, had an impact on his life. You know, there is Sukeroku, there is Miyokichi, there is Konatsu, and then there is also the grandchild of, you know, himself. Apparently, you know, Konatsu's son. And just how they handled that scene in general, it was just, it was great. It was great. I loved seeing that scene. You know, all the people who have impacted Yakumo's life the most, who he considers friends, who he truly loves and cares for. Like, dude, man, pulling on the heartstrings, even at the end of this episode, shit. But what was great about this episode was definitely the interaction between the two of them. How it just felt like, you know, old times. It was not only nostalgic to them, you know, their interaction with each other, but it was also nostalgic to us, the viewer. You know, going back to just like the old times, back in season 1 of Rakugo. Like, it was handled really well. Probably the best episode of Shouwa. Definitely. And I'm really curious as to how the next episode, which is, I guess, going to be the conclusion of this season, I'm really interested to see how that is going to play out. And we're probably going to see even more tears be shed in that episode, because not only are we seeing in this episode the afterlife of Yakumo actually passing on, probably in the next episode we're going to see, you know, Konatsu and, you know, the rest of the gang actually, you know, at his deathbed or at a cemetery, and just, you know, tearing up, and, you know, just I don't know, man. That thing is, oh man, I can already see it right now too. Like, that's the sad thing. Like, it just sucks, you know, because these two characters, Sukeroku and Yotaro, you know, they're finally passing on, or at least Yotaro has passed on, but yet Sukeroku has still, I guess, remained stagnant when it comes to his death. And just seeing the two, you know, pass off with each other, you know, it's really sad. It's really sad. This whole episode was sad to the viewer as well, and I'm pretty sure it's going to get sadder by the next episode as well. So, you know, I'm really curious how the next episode is actually going to play out, because it's definitely going to be the final episode, and I really don't know where, you know, Shouwa goes from here. I mean, for all I know, maybe the manga can, or maybe it is continuing, but at the same time, if they're to wrap it up here in season 2, I will be totally fine. I mean, we probably won't even need another season of Shouwa, but I don't know, maybe there's more material. If you're a manga reader, if this is based on a manga series, which I think it is, let me know in the comments down below, but don't spoil anything, please. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode of Shouwa Genroku Shinjuu. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one.